couple of things is, endowments, while historically, even if when they're created, and if you had a campaign and there's some point it just stopped growing, being contributed to, will historically, and we hope this continues to be the truth, we grow over time. The question is, are they maintaining their purchasing power? Are they growing enough over time? And even if they're maintaining the purchasing power, you live in Austin, Texas. My gosh, if they had that endowment created in the 1960s or the 1970s, Austin is an entirely different place with an entirely, this is not, the Austin that I went to, when I was in high school or junior high. There are 240,000 people in the area, okay? If you had an endowment then, even if it maintains purchasing power to buy what you were able to buy then, we have 1.2 million people in the area. That same endowment isn't going to provide you with what you need to serve what you need to serve in a growing population. So frankly, even if you have an endowment, there needs to always be a mechanism through which there are contributions that can continue to be given. Because quite honestly, and we'll just use, to be honest, you've had people who've served on your board, been presidents of your board, been significant volunteer attorneys for, helping provide services. And if no one's asked that lawyer who's been there for 30 years for a gift, yeah, maybe the annual one, but someone who's been that person doing that for you, they obviously think what you're doing is really important. And if no one has said, we certainly hope you'll consider including volunteer legal services in your will or, some sort of life plan, because I can promise you, and being one, I can say this, not even lawyers necessarily think about putting charities in their own wills, even though many of them will be writing their own wills or, or have their friend write their wills. But the truth is that it's like everything. If you're running for office, you have to ask for votes. You don't assume that people know that's what you're doing. If you're raising money, you have to ask for the money. You just don't show them here's my good program. And if you want an endowment to have a life that's going to continue and keep up with you, you have to continue to put that idea in people's minds. And so not only is an endowment something you have, it's something that needs to be a tool that is always out there as a possibility. And I will tell you a little story just real quick about why it's really important to have one. Because if you don't have one, let me tell you, you've left a whole lot of money on the table, because there are people who've already died who would have given you money that you didn't get. That's the first thing. But the second thing is that if it's not an option, you don't even know what you're missing. And so I'll tell you, and I'll tell this story. Long Center, they've said it in public, so it's what they had. One of their development folks who went to visit an annual fund giver, gives $400 a year. Okay, she was bound and determined to make that go to $500 and get an extra $100 this year from that annual fund donor. So excited, just knew that she could make that happen. Went and visited. Nope, not giving $100 more. You get the $400. That's it. And I think pretty much as an aside, something just came up about the endowment, and the donor went, "You have an endowment? Well, that's an entirely different story." And she left with a $30,000 check or commitment, okay? Went in for $100, walked out with $30,000. The difference was she made him aware that there was an endowment. And the truth is this is about a donor choice. Don't assume this is what you want. This is about what a donor wants. And there are going to be some donors, some people go, "Oh, we don't want to do endowment because we don't want to take away." Let me tell you, donors who will give to your endowment either will continue to give to your annual fund or, but you're not taking away, you're adding to. If you don't let them know the options, you don't know what you're missing.
Are you saying that people may be attracted to give to an endowment in a way they wouldn't to the operation?
Absolutely.
Yes. It will go further.
Absolutely. Yes. And it may be that there's somebody, I was in a law firm, we had a founding, I was at Graves Doherty, and you know what? A zillion people would probably give to have a second named endowment at VLS. We were really active, and there are important lawyers who in my life that were my mentors, that if I were, the opportunity to honor that person with a named endowment at VLS, would I give to it? You bet. And you'd have a second one,
Well, and just to follow up on that, I was visiting with Curtis Meadows from the Meadows Foundation, who was at the RGK Center here, and he said, if you're running a nonprofit, you have to always be asking. Because if you don't ask, you don't know if you're relevant anymore. So it's a test of your mission.